Hello guys, and welcome back to another cold episode. On today's episode, we are taking a look at Magic the Gathering, that's right, and what it does specifically better than Yu-Gi-Oh! As a whole. Now, I'm not going to come up with everything, but this is coming from a place of love. I love both of these games. I think they're really, really good, just in general. I'm a big fan of card games in general as well, and so I just wanted to talk about them as a whole. I mostly play Yu-Gi-Oh! And on this channel, most of the stuff that I talk about is due to Yu-Gi-Oh! However, every once in a while, I get the itch to play Magic, and that is because it is a very fun game. And let's just talk about what Magic the Gathering does better. So, first and foremost, let's look at just Arena right now, and just go through the various different play styles that you could have, right? First and foremost, we got to talk about the elephant in the room, which is draft and sealed. Any form of sealed content is just leagues better in Magic the Gathering. They have specific set, like every set basically can be drafted. Every set can be played as a sealed product. It's so easy to jump in and play draft in a myriad of different ways. Look at this, you can even play cube draft, powered cube draft. That's awesome. So there's a ton of things like that that I think Magic the Gathering does really, really well, right? Just the sheer number of formats, right? Not to mention, you also have things like traditional. You have things like, I mean, if we look at just the ranked plays, right? You have standard, you have historic, you have pioneer, you have timeless, you have brawl, you have alchemy in arena, which is kind of slightly different. But you have so many other ways to just like play the game. And I think that it makes it very enticing for a new player. Not to mention Commander. Commander is one of the most massive movements when it comes to card games ever. Casual, competitive, tons of deck building guides, just so much content. Not only to watch, but also so much in terms of gameplay is just centered around Commander. There's so much to do when it comes to just Commander, and because it's such a casual experience, or more specifically, because it is a way to be played casually as well as competitively, depending on the group of people you're with, it makes it so much more rewarding to just play the game. You could pick up a shit deck for like $2 and still play Commander, which is really cool. That's a really fun thing to be able to do. Yu-Gi-Oh! Doesn't really have that. Sure, like Domain exists, but no one plays it because it's not actually all that great, right? And Genesis format is new, but it's not quite there yet, right? And it's not quite as expansive as something like Magic the Gathering. The other thing that I wanted to talk about here is the prizing. Yeah, Yu-Gi-Oh! Does not have the greatest in terms of pricing. And to be fair, Magic the Gathering doesn't necessarily have phenomenal pricing either, right? We're not paying millions of dollars to watch people play Magic, but we are paying the players for their time. You're not just getting like some cool looking cards that you can sell later. No, you're getting straight up cash money. That's it. You get 50,000 for winning a Pro Tour. That's some decent chunk. That's a decent chunk of change, right? You could actually pay for something. You could pay for a car for that. You could live for like months. That's like some people's salaries. That's a pretty good chunk of change for winning. That's a rewarding incentive to play and test and actually do well at a Magic event, which is awesome. That's a really, really cool thing to be able to do. All right. You can't talk about Magic, especially modern Magic, without talking about the biggest elephant in the room, Universes Beyond. Look, I may not always like the products that they give me when it comes to, you know, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles or Avatar: The Last Airbender or whatever it may be, right? But you gotta admit, it's kinda cool, right? Lord of the Rings, Doctor Who, Transformers are all within Magic the Gathering. You can just straight up play with Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle cards. You could play Spider-Man cards. Like, there's so many crazy cards that you have access to in Magic the Gathering, right? And because of that, not only do you get new players who may not actually enjoy Magic the Gathering specifically, but may enjoy like Spider-Man, or may enjoy, I don't know, whatever other universe there happens to be. Warhammer's in this. Yeah, Warhammer 40k is in this. I forgot about that. That's just really, really cool, right? And there may be other issues with Universes Beyond, but as a fan of a franchise, right? Like if you're a really big fan of Avatar: The Last Airbender, getting some really cool cards that you can play in your favorite card game is really awesome. And I think that is a very fun thing to have that other such games don't really have, right? At least in Pokemon, like, you can play Pokemon games in... Or I guess you should say, like, you can play other Pokemon games and play with the Pokemons there, as well as get the cards themselves, so that's pretty cool. Yu-Gi-Oh! Like, just doesn't have that, right? Yu-Gi-Oh! Just doesn't have that recognizability, right? Unless you are playing specifically decks from the anime, but that's not like characters, it's as much as it is just cards that showed up in the anime. So I think that's pretty cool that you have access to. It's just a cool thing. All right. And the last thing I want to talk about is the color identities, and the fact that there is a very specific color that does a very specific thing. And I think that's a pretty cool thing. But because you can also mix and match, you also gain access to a myriad of different colors and identities and gameplay styles. And I think that's a really cool thing, to have a specific, not just like an archetype, but a specific color that you maybe enjoy more, right? For example, for me, I'm a real big fan of red and a real big fan of blue. These are just my two favorite colors. They happen to work really well. And in fact, I like most of these colors, except for white. Me and my homies hate planes. If I see a planes dropped, I'm out of there. But overall, I do think that that is a cool identity, and it's especially better than a lot of other card games. But I think it's a cool way to identify or to like find decks and find play styles, right? And because of the way that the mana system works in this game, which is also kind of a cool thing. They actually have costs on their cards, right? But one of the cool things about the mana system within Magic is the fact that each one of these colors will have specific cards tied to them. So for example, if you are playing Izzet, you get like prowess, right? You get that access to like spell slinging, so you get a lot of removal, but on top of that you also get like access to counter spells, and you get access to haste guys, or like really high, you know, prowess stacks, or what have you, right? So like that's a cool color identity specifically tied to those, and then on top of that you still get those staples as well, which I find to be pretty cool as well. But it's like different staples depending on the color, which I think works again really well. It's a really, really well-designed system. There's a reason this game has lasted for as long as it has, right? So, there you go. All right, that's pretty much it. I'm sure there's a ton more things to enjoy about Magic the Gathering. So, yeah, let me know down below what you guys enjoy about Magic the Gathering, or if you don't enjoy it, what you think is cool about it, at the very least, right? I'll be doing a video as well talking about what Yu-Gi-Oh! Does better than Magic, and we'll talk about that there. But overall, I think this game is great, and I'm a real big fan of it. Thank you guys so much for watching, and remember to always stay frosty. Bye-bye.